Presented by Cursed by the Witch. Warning, use headphones before listening to horror podcast story. The Doll Collector is a spine-chilling horror story revolving around the life of Agnes Whitlock, an elderly woman with a peculiar hobby, collecting dolls. Set in a quiet, rural town, the story dives into the dark and twisted secrets that lie beneath her seemingly innocent obsession. The dolls Agnes collects are no ordinary dolls, they carry with them a sinister history, one that has haunted her for decades. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Agnes is not merely a collector, she is bound to a supernatural curse that ties her to the fate of each doll in her possession. Part 1, Agnes and her collection. Agnes Whitlock lives alone in her large, creaky Victorian house at the edge of town. The house itself is filled with hundreds of dolls, porcelain, cloth, wooden, and even handcrafted ones from various parts of the world. Her collection has been growing for decades, and locals whisper about her strange behavior, but no one dares approach her. The townspeople avoid the house, believing it to be cursed, especially because every year, Agnes purchases a new doll from the local antique shop just before a local child mysteriously goes missing. Agnes's dolls are displayed on shelves that line every room in her house, their eyes seeming to follow anyone who enters. She spends hours each day tending to her collection, brushing their hair, cleaning their faces, and whispering to them as if they were alive. Despite her age, she moves with an unsettling energy when caring for the dolls. The townspeople are unaware that Agnes's doll collection holds a dark secret. Each doll represents a missing child, and those who once knew the victim sense that something is very wrong but cannot put their finger on it. Agnes doesn't simply buy the dolls, she takes them, and each doll holds the trapped spirit of a child. Part 2, The Origins of the Curse. The story flashes back to reveal the origin of Agnes's dark connection to the dolls. As a young girl, she was fascinated by dolls, but her family was poor, and she could never afford any. One day, a traveling peddler passed through town and offered her a beautiful porcelain doll for free. The doll was perfect, and Agnes became attached to it immediately. However, the peddler warned her that the doll came with a price, a curse tied to a deal with dark forces that would bind Agnes's soul to the doll forever if she accepted it. Young and naive, Agnes ignored the warning and took the doll. Soon after, strange things began to happen. People around her began to disappear, and it was later discovered that the doll was not just a toy, it was a vessel for the spirits of the dead. Each time someone died or vanished, a new doll appeared in Agnes's collection, even if she hadn't bought it. Over time, Agnes learned that the curse compelled her to collect the spirits of children, trapping them inside the dolls. As Agnes aged, the curse consumed her life. She became more and more obsessed with her collection, isolated from the rest of the world. The dolls began to speak to her, whispering secrets of the afterlife and drawing her deeper into the supernatural realm. Agnes found that as long as she continued collecting, she would not age as rapidly, and her life would be prolonged, but at the cost of trapping the souls of the children who went missing. Part 3, The Missing Children. As the years passed, the town became wary of Agnes. Each time a child disappeared, a new doll would mysteriously appear in her collection. The local police tried to investigate the disappearances, but no evidence could be found. Agnes, being an old woman, was above suspicion in the eyes of most, though some of the more superstitious townspeople believed she was responsible for the children's fates. The disappearances followed a chilling pattern. Every year, just before Halloween, a child would go missing, never to be seen again. Parents began keeping their children indoors, but the vanishings continued. Each time a new doll appeared in Agnes's house, it looked eerily like the most recently missing child. One day, a young girl named Emily goes missing, and her parents are devastated. Emily's best friend, Sarah, is determined to find her, believing that Agnes is somehow involved. Sarah sneaks into Agnes's house under the guise of selling homemade sweets and is horrified by the collection of dolls, one of which looks exactly like Emily. The doll is dressed in the same outfit Emily was wearing when she disappeared, and its expression is one of terror. Sarah begins to suspect that the dolls aren't just ordinary toys, they are connected to the missing children. But before she can investigate further, she is caught by Agnes, who gently escorts her out of the house. Agnes's cold stare and strange smile make Sarah's blood run cold, but she manages to leave unharmed. Part 4, Confronting the Truth. Sarah continues to dig into Agnes's past and discovers the story of the peddler who gave Agnes her first cursed doll. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah decides to confront Agnes, hoping to break the curse and save her friend. However, when Sarah returns to the house, she finds herself drawn into the web of dark magic that surrounds Agnes and her dolls. Inside, the house seems different, larger, darker, and more oppressive. The dolls appear to be watching Sarah, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. As Sarah confronts Agnes, the old woman reveals the full extent of the curse. The dolls contain the souls of the children, and the curse has granted Agnes immortality in exchange for their spirits. Agnes tells Sarah that the only way to free the children is to break the first doll, the one given to her by the peddler so many years ago. But Agnes, driven mad by years of isolation and dark magic, refuses to let anyone destroy her beloved collection. She attacks Sarah, and the dolls in the house begin to move, coming to life and attempting to trap her. Part 5, The Final Showdown. In a climactic struggle, Sarah manages to locate the original cursed doll. The spirits of the trapped children guide her, their voices echoing in the house, pleading for release. As Agnes tries to stop her, Sarah smashes the original doll, causing a ripple of supernatural energy to surge through the house. The other dolls begin to break apart, releasing the trapped souls. The house shakes as the curse unravels, and Agnes, now powerless without the dolls, begins to rapidly age. As she crumbles into dust, the spirits of the children are freed, and the dolls return to their lifeless forms. The story ends with Sarah standing alone in the now empty house, surrounded by broken dolls. The missing children are never physically found, but their spirits are finally at peace. The house is abandoned, and Sarah is hailed as a hero in the town. However, the final scene hints that one doll, slightly cracked but still intact, remains hidden in the attic, suggesting that the curse may not be entirely broken. The Doll Collector is a haunting tale of obsession, dark magic, and the devastating consequences of a curse that traps innocent souls in a twisted collection. The story explores themes of grief, guilt, and the desire for eternal life at the cost of others. Thank you for watching. Just like and subscribe.